Hello, welcome. Happy Friday. I'm always excited for Fridays. Um, this week I was kind of excited. I was excited for the week to end, just because it felt a little frazzled at the beginning, but the week actually unfolded beautifully for me. So hopefully for you as well. I just had a fabulous conversation with such a special friend on Tuesday, and it was interesting because things needed to shift for me to feel like I was back in kind of the flow. And when you take your fears and your worries out of the mix, magical things happen. So hopefully everyone is feeling good. In today's Q&A, we're going to be doing a little bit of Reiki at the end. I don't know if we'll go the whole hour. We'll see how things go. But I wanted to take on any questions that people may have had about releasing pain, past pain, and then also we're going to do a little bit of just I call it guided meditation, but I think it can be journeying, it can be visualization, it can be mental rehearsal, whatever you want to call it. Kind of depends on your lens perspective of what you call it. So we're going to do a little bit of that as well to see if we can open up to inspiration. So we want to release past pain, so we make space so that inspiration can be ignited within us again. So I'm really excited because I was in, as you may have remembered, a few weeks ago, kind of a funk. So it just feels nice to have things opening up and expanding. So if you have any questions and you're here live, put them into the chat. If you end up watching this later and you're like, I still have questions, you're totally free to add them to this or to message me privately. So it feels like you have a little bit of support going through this process. Now, I will say this is sort of my disclaimer. If you have significant unresolved past trauma with a big T, not a little t, but a big T, self-guided healing is not always the route that I would suggest for people. I do suggest, if there is some unresolved trauma, to meet with a therapist that's trained. The big phrase is trauma informed. I think most therapists are trauma informed, but if you want to seek out support that way to help ease some of that pain, to maybe make sense of that period of time that you were maybe had that struggle or had that experience, and then see what you need to create within your life in the present to kind of support you emotionally and have strategies for moving forward in your life. So I always say, just tread lightly when it comes to healing, and do it in a safe way if you can. So that's my disclaimer for the day. All right. So any questions off the bat, either about, this is in collaboration, I guess I would say, from Sacred Circle, which was, I think it was last Sunday. It was where we did some distance Reiki, and we did a guided meditation, and we did cards, oracle cards. So this is sort of that Q&A for that. And I probably should introduce myself if we haven't met. If this is the first time you've found my videos or you just stumbled upon this, my name is Mary at Rivers Journey Wellness. I am a holistic therapist for about 25 years now, and I also am a Reiki master, teacher, and practitioner, and I am sort of moving into fully integrating all of the things that have helped me on my growth journey. So Reiki, a little bit of nature-based practices, shamanic work, everything that's kind of encompassed under the bigger umbrella of energy healing. So it could be mindfulness, meditation, obviously Reiki, and just kind of bringing that to one place for clients to receive support on their journey. So that is me. If you want more information about me, you can go to my website. Like I said, it's riversjourneywellness.com. Okay, so any questions? Go ahead and put them in the chat if you have any. If not, whoops, I'm pressing buttons. We'll see how this goes today. Norbert is in here with me, and he just woke up. So Norbert's my dog, if you haven't seen Norbert. So hopefully he'll be a little bit quiet while we get started. So why did I have this releasing pain as sort of a topic? One, it was something that I needed to do, something that I was struggling with. And I always feel like if it's something that I could benefit from, or something that I am benefiting from, it's something that other people can benefit from as well. And so the reason why I felt like, okay, we kind of have to get through some muck, is because I didn't really feel inspired. I didn't really feel like a lot of creative ideas were flowing. I didn't really feel, I'm a very daydreamy person, and um, I didn't feel like doing that. I didn't feel like anything was coming to me. It just felt a little stuck, a little blocked. And so then I know, okay, something needs to shift. Now, it was probably impacted a little bit by just the time of what was happening in the stars and planets. And this is an interesting time too, of course. We have a bunch of planets in retrograde right now. So, eek. So it can be a challenge, but I wanted to read you just a little bit of, this is just an excerpt. This is part of the meditation that I did during Sacred Circle. It is actually up on YouTube as well. So if you haven't had an opportunity, you're welcome to listen to that meditation. It's a little bit longer than what I usually do because there were so many bits and pieces to this. When I was thinking about what I wanted to do for the Sacred Circle, I was blocked. I was stuck. I didn't know what I wanted to do actually. And so I pulled some cards, and it was so funny because I intended to pull one, two came. And I intended to pull an animal card, and two came. So the ones that sort of paired up with each other, it was just absolutely perfect. So one of them was goddess of the past, Greek goddess Nemazine. So I may not be saying that right, but that's how I say her name. Who knows? But she was the past, and the animal spirit that came with that was the wasp. And sometimes life stings. So I thought, well, that's really curious. And then the other two cards that came up, one was the Incan goddess of water, Mama Cocha, who in Sacred Circle, we've worked with her before. We've invited her medicine in, and we've worked with that just so gratefully. And so she was here again. And the animal spirit that went with that was Electric Eel, which was kind of cool. And it was basically about like inspiration will strike, right? And so to me, it was like, oh, I don't even have to do any work. It's all been done for me to create something for the Sacred Circle. So I made a meditation. I just kind of sit in quiet. I listen to a little bit of music just to kind of clear out any thoughts, and typed up the meditation. So that's up on YouTube. And so this is just a little bit that I wanted to read from it. So it's not actually meditation right now, but the reason why it can get very tricky to release past pain is we start to create stories around that pain. So it can be stories about the experience. It can be stories about the other people. It can be a story about ourselves. It can be a story about the world. And we sort of hold that really tightly in our grip that this is truth. And it's really not. A lot of the work that I do in therapy is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is, kind of shifting the thoughts to something that's a little bit more realistic. Our fear kind of takes us in all sorts of directions, never good. Well, I shouldn't say that. But it doesn't oftentimes lead us to like, oh, I'm so excited and I'm so powerful and I'm wonderful, blah, 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 right? It usually goes to like, oh, you have this wrong with you and that's not so great and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know what you can say about that. So when we have those stories, it sort of keeps that memory frozen, but it keeps us frozen as well. And if we start to shift the story, if we start to shift, how we interpret or how we view that painful period, it sort of lessens the heaviness. It sort of breaks up that energy, and then we're able to kind of feel back as ourselves, and things flow. So I have and here negative experiences in the past can create stress in the choices for the future. So oftentimes, I think it's once burned, twice shy or something like that it's it's a song, but it's also I don't know, saying or whatever. I think when we have negative experiences, especially if they're painful, we retreat. We decide, I don't want to put myself in that situation again because it ends up in hurt, which sometimes is true. We do not ever have to go into certain situations ever again, but it also becomes something a little bit more globally of like, I don't want to put myself out there at all, or I don't want to get into a relationship, or I don't want to earn money, or whatever the fear ends up being. And so it then is going to hinder our choices for ourselves in the present and then obviously in the future. And so sometimes when we have those painful experiences, we can feel, sense, or hear the echoes of those old memories that keep us frozen. And this during retrograde time, for me, is always about reflecting on basically course correcting what hasn't been working. It's an opportunity to kind of see in the different areas, what hasn't been working. And I think for us, when we feel, when those things start coming back to us, it can feel very paralyzing again in the present, even though we're not experiencing, hopefully, that same painful event or experience. But we can get really frozen, really stuck, very tight, very stressed. So, we want to sort of give ourselves that ability to soothe some of the emotion that feels raw or jagged. And we want to really look below that scar and see like what's underneath that. Because usually it's like our truest self, it's our core, it's our nature. Like that's never taken away from us, right? Sometimes it's just covered in a lot of muck. And so we want to be able to bring ourselves back to this present time without that past thing kind of popping up and exploding in our faces. And then think about, if I'm softening that pain, it's going to not pull me back into the past as much, or into that past expression or experience or reaction. And so we're able to make these different choices. And what that does for us is it sort of opens doors for us. It allows us to dream. It allows us to daydream. It allows us to plan and take action, to become happy and joyful again. And then obviously we want to tap into how we can bring all of the good stuff in life to us that we're hoping will. So that was a little bit about the meditation that we had done. So if that's something that you're interested in, I do have a little bit more grounding at the beginning of that meditation, just because we're pulling up painful stuff. So anytime we're trying to recall painful stuff, I want to have a mechanism for you to release any sorts of stress, anything that you notice in the body. You might notice your breathing changes, or there's tension in any part of the body, really. And so we want to be able to kind of dissipate that as we're going through. And so grounding is a really nice way to do that. And so it's a little bit longer of a meditation. I'll just say that. Okay, so that leads us today. So what can you do to kind of release some of the past pain? I'm going to give you a different perspective. I'm going to have you, instead of like hitting it, head on, I'm going to have you kind of go around sideways and actually bypass that person, that experience, whatever it was that was painful, and focus back on you. But focus on you in a way that's realistic and supportive, loving, compassionate, caring. Okay, so usually we have negative self-talk about those painful experiences, and we want to maybe put a pause on that right now. So it's funny, I was talking about this a little bit earlier with my friend. I was saying I pulled some cards. Again, I meant to pull one, but I pulled a couple of cards still on this topic. And the three that came out almost told its own story. And so the first thing that I want you to start doing when you're thinking about releasing pain is tap in, and you don't have to tap into this animal spirit. It's an animal, 3 animals. You don't have to use this, but I want you to think about the concepts. So the first animal I picked was, wow, I didn't pick them. They just came out. All right. So it was skunk spirit, and it's know your worth. So when you're thinking about the past experiences or the painful times, we tend to negate um, our value and our worth. Painful experiences can ding our self-esteem, and we can start to create these stories about I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. And this is an opportunity to look at, to really get clarity on, what are you telling yourself about your worth? Where can you soften that? Where can you see examples that hasn't been always true? Where can you start looking at your strengths and feel like that's the thing that I want to focus on? Because what we focus on is going to grow. So if we're focusing on our strengths, we're going to kind of be building that muscle of worth and value. And it's sort of going to, like I said, sideways go in and sort of release some of that power or hold the stories might have on us and getting frozen to that pain story. So just thinking about, I don't know another word or two words, I guess, for worth and value. But I think that they're very loaded words. And so I probably should describe them, but know your worth, know what am I willing to settle for? What am I not? What am I bringing to the table in any experience? What are my good qualities or strengths? What are my gifts and talents? What am I deserving of? And so that can sometimes feel difficult for people when I ask them, in a session or even in coaching, if I ask them about that, sometimes the answer is nothing. And I'm laughing at that because I'm looking at them and I'm like I list them in my head as I am asking that, because I can see it. I can see what your worth is. I can see what your value is. But sometimes we have such blinders because of that pain that we don't see it. We can't see it for ourselves. It's too difficult to be vulnerable and say, like, this is what I'm really good at, or this is what I'm really proud of, or this is what I want other people to know about me, because there's a fear of another pain experience in revealing that. So I kind of chuckle when in my mind, not at the client or the individual when they're like nothing, because I'm like, oh, if only you could see what I see, right? So that's the work, that's the process of counseling and coaching, is to get people to that place where they can see that again for themselves. So what is your worth? And you can journal on that, you can meditate on that. If you are like, I have no idea, I don't have worth, you do. Go ask somebody you trust, somebody that is always on your team, and see what they say. Or, talk to a colleague or your supervisor and ask, like, where do you see me doing a good job or whatever at work? And their feedback can kind of give you some, kind of stir up some of those creative juices of like, oh yeah, I am good at that, or I do enjoy this. So the first card was Skunk Spirit. Know your worth. We've all struggled with that. We all will continue to struggle with that. Just to let you know, it's not something that people just magically wave away, but there it is. The next card that I pulled, or fell out, was Porcupine Spirit. I think I mentioned they were all animals, right? So this is time for a beginner's mind. And if you have done any mindfulness courses or training, or even read books about it, or any meditation courses, trainings, practice, whatever, you'll know about the beginner's mind. So this is where, without judgment and criticism, we observe what is happening. We can observe ourselves with the beginner's mind. We can observe our life, the world, whatever we want, without judgment and criticism. Just being open and curious to what you see and what you can identify, is I hate to say it again, but more realistic, something that's not tainted by our pain lens, but seeing a little bit more clearly. So the time for a beginner's mind, I really like that, because I think like knowing your worth sort of sets that stage. I always talk about worth and value are key foundations for self-esteem, and then kind of taking it to a higher level of looking at things from a beginner's mind. So just sort of opening up to, well, we're starting to open up to possibilities. We're starting to open up to what maybe I haven't seen yet because of the judgment and criticism, or maybe something that I have been really restricting myself on because of the judgment and criticism. And so we're just opening that up a little bit. We're just going to be in this curious state. And that can be a challenge for some people. And that's okay. Just give yourself grace, go at your own pace. There's no perfection, it's all progress. So you can practice it and see how that goes. If you're wondering, like, for a resource of how to do this, I really like this book up here. I don't even want to take it out of my bookshelf because I'm afraid everything's going to fall down. But it's John Kabat-Zinn, and it's Wherever You Go, There You Are. So if you're wondering about how do I kind of start that, that would probably be a go-to book or a go-to resource for you. Okay, and so the third card that I really just absolutely loved was Starfish Spirit. And this is open to infinite possibilities. And to me, it's a verb of opening because sometimes we're not there yet. Open or opening, if you're me, to infinite possibilities. When we are stuck in our pain stories, there are not a lot of opportunities that we can see, not a lot of possibilities that we can sense or know or see or feel. And it feels very constricting. It feels very restrictive, and it doesn't feel like there's a lot of avenues for us. But once we start to look at our value, once we start to see things from a higher perspective, we sort of are able to open up to the possibility that there's more than what we're experiencing now, and maybe even more than what we thought we could have in our life. And so I loved this progression or series of the cards, and that's exactly how they fell out. That was pretty amazing. Like I said, I was trying to pull one and I got those three. So it was kind of cool. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about that or if any of these cards resonate. I feel like when I'm pulling cards, especially for working with, like Sacred Circle or anything that I'm doing with clients, I feel like sometimes it can resonate with a lot of different people. And so, we pick up on energies. And so we all might have some shade or flavor of this going on in our lives. So if you have any questions or have any comments, go ahead and put them down in the chat. I am going to, I don't know where I put, I just had my, it's right in front of me. I just had my sage like a few minutes ago. So JL says, Starfish really resonates. Staying stuck in pain story is huge. It is. It is. And sometimes we don't even know we're in it, right? Sometimes we don't even realize it. Sometimes a good friend can tell us we're stuck there. But other times it just feels like so grumbly and icky that it's like, what is going on? And then we do have to take a step back and look at like, what's happening for me right now. And Vicky says, no questions, just interested in information about your Sacred Circle. Well, thank you for asking about that. So I do a monthly Sacred Circle. It's typically on Sundays, usually 10 a.m. to 11:30 or 10:30 to noon, depending on my weekend. That's Central Time. And it is something that I have crafted just for the month based on the energies, based on what's going on, not only with the cards, but then just what's happening for people or for the astrology, numerology, the energy of the season. So I blend a lot of different things in to get sort of a cohesive, topic, so to speak. And so we do a little bit of distance Reiki. I provide Reiki to clients. You can just sit back and enjoy that or receive. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be attuned to Reiki. It's just a nice way to release, let go, heal, balance, whatever you're needing energetically. And then I have a guided meditation that goes with that. And so it's a time for you to integrate that healing or whatever that message is. If you're hoping for balance or whatever's happening in your life, and around this topic essentially. So like I said, each month's a different topic. And right now I do it on Zoom. You just register either on Eventbrite. You can go to my website and there's a link. And then it's $23 for that hour and a half. And then if we have time, which usually we do, I pull cards individually for people. And then we just sort of process that if we have time. So that is Secret Circle. And JL says, especially if you are in a work or family environment that keeps triggering it. Yeah, they keep reinforcing your pain, right? And I know I always say this, like the crappy thing is when we start getting healthy, when we start working on ourselves, sometimes it's not like a stimulus or prompting for other people to work on their stuff. And so there can be like dust gets kicked up and like a whole bunch of more stress gets piled on because people want the relationships or the dynamic to stay the same. They want us to be the same, right? And so when we start to have healthy boundaries, when we start to choose different behaviors for ourselves, speak up for ourselves, communicate in a different way, it can really create a lot of tension. And people have this it's not really something that's conscious, but they have a very unconscious or subconscious like template of who we are, who we should be, what our role should be in their life for them, right? And it's like, it can be so problematic. Yeah, so that pain story can get poked at a lot in those family and work. Oh, I can totally see both of those. Whenever people talk to me about like family, they're coming in just to talk about their family, or they're just coming in to talk about work. I'm like, how is this thing blending or bleeding into the other one, either work or home life? And there's always some dynamic. There's always another parallel. And it's like, yeah, because we're kind of interacting in that same way. We have that same role. So, also looking at not only the stories that we tell ourselves, but like, how does that keep us stuck in those roles, those unhealthy roles? So yeah, there's always, I know people don't like me saying this, but I'm like, there's always something for us to be working on. If there's no questions, I'm going to light just a little bit of sage, just to clear up some energy. It's funny, I'm in Chicagoland area and we just had 2 days. I know we shouldn't complain. It's only been 2 days. 2 days of heat and humidity. Well, the humidity was the big thing. It was like tropical Chicagoland. I know Arizona had, and so many other places had such intense heat. But I'm noticing it was so quiet. All I could hear were the birds and the bugs. We have a lot of cicadas out here. So I could hear them, or the crickets and grasshoppers. And today I'm like, I know the temperature's gone down because all I can hear is people mowing their lawn. So I'm like, it kind of ruins some of my peace. But just releasing, we're just going to start releasing with that sage a little bit of what we picked up from the week. For me, the week started getting better. Things started flowing. But if you felt like, no, not there yet, this is for you. And then I'm going to light a candle for us, and we will see. I tried to light this letting go candle on Sunday. It did light, and then it went out. It went out at like the perfect time. So it's lit just to sort of, it's like intention. It's like we're setting that intention, and we can kind of feed the stuff that we don't want, the stuff that we want to release into that flame, but it also burns brightly for us to have strength and to be nurtured and nourished. And it's just another way of calling in, just like with the sage, calling in your guides. And so this is just and if you don't know who your guides are, that's totally fine. You have guides. So you don't have to worry about, I don't know, the individual people. So we are in this retrograde. It had a little bit of herbs in it, and I see whatever that was. I don't know what that was. Lavender, maybe? I'm not sure. That sort of ignited it. Oh, crazy. I guess we needed that. We needed a little bit more. since we are, I don't want to move the flame too much. So since we are in this retrograde time, it is a time for reflection. It is a time for course correction. It's a time to sort of reestablish our intentions for ourselves. It's time to reinvigorate, any hope or wish or plan that we had. It's time to sort of dump the stuff that's not working for us and, start to get excited for infinite possibilities. So I invite you, if you're comfortable and if you're in a safe place, to just relax the body. If you can close your eyes, that's fabulous. If you're driving, don't do that. But if you're at work, it's fine. You don't have to close your eyes. But just kind of soften your gaze. It helps to kind of look past, instead of looking directly at the screen, looking past the screen, just kind of averting your eyes, and just allowing the eyes to soften, or the gaze to soften, the eyes to relax. So whichever feels most comfortable for you. So if you have a past pain that has been popping up for you, you probably have noticed these last few weeks that it's been popping up, and it will continue to pop up until the almost middle of September. So you've lots of opportunities to work on this. But if there is one thing in particular that has been popping up for you, just bring that to mind. You don't have to go back to a particular experience, a specific memory, just whatever that thing was, right? And again, as I'm talking, I'm going to start sending Reiki to loosen up anything that's felt stuck, balance anything that has been imbalanced. And add to a little bit of an empty cup if you felt depleted. So thinking about either that pain point or choices that have been coming up, what do you need to work on or improve within yourself to keep moving past the pain? Remember, we're not going to focus on the other person or the specifics of the experience, but we're going to send the focus back to ourselves. We're going to anchor into our worth with curiosity and wonder, without judgment and criticism. Is there something that would feel so good if you worked on? The working on part may not feel so good. The results is the so good. And thinking about that stuck point for yourself, those stories that you tell yourself about the pain. If you could, what would you do differently if you experienced that moment today? The outcome would be different. How would it be different? You might sense that message from your heart or your solar plexus, or even your third eye giving you a nudge. The reason why we explore what you would do differently is because you're able to reflect on different choices, different outcomes, because since that experience, you have grown, you're continuing to evolve, You're continuing to transform. You, of course, have wisdom. You have value and worth. But just take a moment to see your growth. See how much you've transformed since that experience. A little crystal, a little fluorite, just to kind of help unwind. Just unwinding some of that pain. Releasing the restriction of that story. Shedding some of the stuff that you feel has been holding you back. The frustrating part is it's a lot of the stories that we tell ourselves that hold us back. I'm just going to seal it in a little bit. Just allowing us time to move beyond the fear, those stories that were created because of that memory. You want to imagine breaking the chains of this memory. Breaking the old connection of this memory in your own way. Opening to there might be infinite possibilities for you. There's excitement when we think about possibilities. It can feel inspiring, push us into action. Doors begin to open. New steps appear before us. We find ourselves on a new path. The old pain no longer can keep us stuck and frozen. No longer tethered or weighted down. Liberation from that past memory comes with really searching, who am I now? What do I want for myself? And really looking at if you can trust that those opportunities will be there for you, that those possibilities are possibilities. And use another crystal just to help get all of our, I like to say gunk, any gunk out of the chakras, just releasing it with the second stone. Just allowing anything that doesn't serve you to be released. If you have a way of grounding, just sending it down the grounding cords you root. Knowing that you don't have to hold on to any of that. The pain stories, they don't make us stronger. They keep us stuck. Just feeling for a moment your strength. Welcoming and embracing the alchemy of listening and healing. Growing and transforming. Knowing that you'll do it at your own rate, with your own rhythm, your own flow. Just opening to the presence of your higher self. I talk a lot about your guides and guardians. And there's so much power in just opening to your higher self. You'll be able to feel more inspired. Allow that creativity to flow. Abundance and joy can flow. Limitless potential and possibilities can flow. A little feather just fell. So that miracles can manifest. So that your spirit can be free again. I'm going to be quiet for just a second and allow you to send thanks to your younger self, the one that tried so hard to keep you safe and healthy and happy. And also just set an intention for how you can show your younger self and your future self too love by choosing to keep evolving, keep growing, keep transforming, trusting your wisdom, giving yourself permission so that you can just keep moving one step at a time on your path to your ideal future. Feeling the energy. And I bring just a little chime. It's a tingsha. I know it can be loud with the microphone. You can take a breath and bring yourself back to the present. Noticing your body, wiggling fingers and toes. I want to show you this it's so tiny, when I picked up that last, I don't know which, actually, I don't know which one it was. This tiny little feather from out of nowhere just fell from the bottom of the crystal. And I do have some feathers by the, but that's not from this little teeny feather. So interesting. So interesting. So let's see. Sorry, I didn't see this from jail. Oh, I love Sacred Circle, she says. I hope you can join, Vicki. Absolutely. Anyone's welcome. Here's the Eventbrite page where they get posted and are released for signing up. Oh, thank you. Thank you for promoting that for me. Yeah, I know I probably have told people this lots of times, but I think Sacred Circle is like one of my most favorite thing that I do during the month right now. And yeah, I enjoy it. So I'm glad other people do as well. Oh, thank you. Jail says your Reiki was amazing. Thank you so much. You're welcome. And thank you. And Vicki says, yes, it was wonderful. Well, thank you. Well, I know we kind of get in that state of like woozy memory. Well, I should say memory, but we get into that place of I don't even know what to call it. It's like, to me, woozy was the word that I came up with, so I'm going to still use it. We just feel a little like slightly out of it when we come back from a little bit of meditation or Reiki, just because we're so quiet and still. But if you have any questions, anything that I can answer or give you information about, we still have a few more minutes. Otherwise, we can always say goodbye. And just like in Sacred Circle, the candle went out at the end. I picked it up to blow it out, and that it was already out. So kind of crazy. Yeah, this candle, letting go. I release what no longer serves me. We need that reminder. We need that permission. Yes, we do. We do need that permission. So, anything else going on? I don't have. I do say I don't have a whole lot going on. I do have some. I'll have Sacred Circle next month in September, to be determined what date it's going to be. I know it's going to be a Sunday though. If Wednesday is going to be a super busy day, we have a full moon. It's blue moon because we have had 3 major lunations this month. It is a powerful, potent energy. Plus, we have all the retrogrades. So if I might be able to pop on a little bit on the 30th, we'll see how my day goes. For some reason, I am like booked solid. So, which normally is not my Wednesday. So hopefully I can do that. If not, we'll see what I come up with for next time. So until then, if you have any questions, reach out to me at my website. Otherwise, riversjourneywellness.com. Otherwise, I will look forward to connecting you again in the lives. Take care.